Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a Nekroz deck profile. So I'm really excited for this one because this deck just got an amazing new boss monster in Ghost from the Past, which at the time of recording hasn't quite released yet, which is why this card looks a little bit off because it's actually a proxy. But I'm really excited to show you guys this deck to the point that I actually made one. If you guys want to see how to make these, I have a video on the channel exactly how to make these. But without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name searched for every single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, or even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're playing the new Nekroz boss monster, which is absolutely insane. It's a walking negate and has some really amazing effects. You can't ritual summon this card by using a level 10 monster, but that's totally fine because we have plenty of ways to summon this card without using a level 10 monster. It's a 3300 beat stick, and if your opponent activates a monster effect while this card's on the field, you can immediately tribute a card quick effect that's a monster card from your hand or field and negate the activation if you banish that card, not destroy, banish that card, which is really awesome. And this card is just absolutely insane. We then play 2 copies of Nekroz of Trishula. Nekroz of Trishula is an insanely good card. You can't ritual summon this card with a level 9 monster, but you can ritual summon this card with a lot of different Nekroz ritual spells. All of your Nekroz ritual monsters can be special summoned by the effect of any Nekroz ritual spell, which is really amazing for this deck. It also has the ability to, when this card is special summoned to your side of the field, you can banish exactly 3 cards, 1 from your opponent's hand, field, or in graveyard, which is really good. And then also it has the ability that when this card's in your hand, you can use the effect of when a card or effect is activated that targets a Nekroz monster, you can quick effect, discard this card, negate the activation. We then play a single copy of Valkyries, which I will say, if you are like me and you still haven't got a hold of the new Nekroz monster, you can put a second copy of Valkyries into the deck to kind of change it up, to be able to do that and tide you over until you can get your hands on this card. But basically what this card does is you can't ritual summon this card using a level 8 monster, but when this card's in your hand and an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can banish 1 Nekroz card from your graveyard and discard this card from your hand to be able to negate the attack and then end the battle phase. And then during your main phase, you contribute 2 monsters from your hand and or field, and if you do, you get to draw 2 cards. You get to draw the same amount of cards that you tributed, which is its field effect. A lot of your Nekroz monsters have field effects and they have hand effects where you can discard them for added bonuses, which is why the deck was so consistent and still is. We then play 3 copies of Nekroz of Brionek. Brionek is insanely good because it has the ability that you can discard this card to add a Nekroz monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of itself, and also has the ability that it's on the field and you can target up to 2 monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck and return those cards to the extra deck, which is really good. We then play 3 copies of Nekroz of Unicorn. Unicorn is really good because you can discard this card from your hand to be able to target any Nekroz card in your graveyard and add that card back to your hand. And if it's on the field, it negates the effects of all face-up monsters that were special summoned from the extra deck, which is insanely good and is why you want to summon this card to your side of the field all the time and as quickly as possible. We then play 2 copies of Colossalus. Colossalus can discard itself from the hand to be able to add a Nekroz spell or trap from your deck to your hand, and then during either player's turn, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field that was special summoned from the extra deck and negate its effects, and its attack becomes 0, which is pretty good just to be able to give you a walking negation. I love that about this card, and it really helps to be able to summon out this and your copy of your Unicorn at the same time, because both of these protect one another, and then putting this on the field as well, the new one, is just game over because you're getting at least 2 negates and locking your opponent out of extra deck plays, which is really good. We're then playing a single copy of Chalice Slime. I just feel like I need 1 Chalice Slime in this deck because Chalice Slime is really good, but you reveal it in your hand to be able to discard a card and then special summon an incantation from deck, which is really nice for this deck, but you just really need 1. We then play a single copy of Shuret. Shuret is really good because it can meet the entire requirement of a Nekroz extra deck or Nekroz monster. So this card's really good to use for the full requirement of one of your monsters. And if this card is tributed, then you get to add 1 Nekroz warrior monster from your deck to your hand, which is really good. We then play 2 copies of Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Manju, basically when it's normal summon, which is only 1 of 5 normal summons in the deck, when it's normal summon, you get to add a ritual spell or a ritual monster from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Kandal, which you reveal a ritual spell in your hand to be able to special summon this card and another incantation. And if it's special summoned to your field, except by its own effect, you get to add a ritual spell from your deck to your hand. Kandal does the, Talismandra does the exact same thing as Kandal. except you have to reveal a ritual monster, and then you play a single copy of Bookstone, which you reveal a ritual spell, and then you special summon this and another incantation from the deck to be able to then use its effect when it's special summon off the effect of another incantation monster to be able to add a ritual spell from the graveyard, and then Pencil Plume lets you add a ritual monster when it's special summon off the effect of another monster's effect, and you can reveal a ritual monster in your hand to special summon this card and another incantation from the deck. So basically, ritual monsters, ritual spells. So the candle and the book are ritual monster or ritual spells, and the Talismandra and Pencil Plume are ritual spells, or ritual monsters, excuse me. So ritual monsters, ritual spells. We then play 3 copies of Zaborg, the Mega Monarch. Zaborg is really good in this deck too, because Zaborg is going to be able to tribute your copies of your incantation monsters to summon himself to your side of the field, which you rarely are going to even worry about using your normal summon in this deck anyways, because the majority of the stuff that you're going to be doing is ritual summoning anyways, so that's totally fine to be able to just normal summon this card to your side of the field off one of your incantation monsters. And this card is absolutely insane once you summon it. So you have once you summon this card to your side of the field, you get to target a card on the field and destroy it. And if you target this card and you destroy this card off its effect, you get to just send 8 monsters from the extra deck to the graveyard. That's 8 from your opponent's and 8 from yours to the graveyard, which is really good because it lets you look through your opponent's extra deck if you pop this card, which is really, really good. I love that effect. Just to be able to pop cards out of my extra deck, like copies of Totally Awesome, my copies of my Elder Entity Nist, Fossil Bone, Arclight. Like, you have so many different cards in this extra deck to be able to pop with this card, and you don't even use the extra deck at all with this deck, except for using stuff like your Trishula Zero Dragon as a material for your Kaleidoscope. This card is absolutely insane, and I highly recommend that you guys play this. We then play 3 copies of Cyframe Gear Gamma. Gamma is really good because Gamma is really good at blocking you if your opponent is going to block one of your ritual spells. It's kind of like a Call by the Grave substitute, because if your opponent hand traps you and tries to block you or activates a monster effect to try and block you from ritual summoning, you can just special summon this card to your side of the field, and it basically stops one of their cards. And then also you can synchro summon into your copy of your Omega, which does come up every so often when you draw into this card and you immediately try to ritual summon on turn 2. We then play a single copy of Driver just to round out the monsters, because you have to play this with your copy of Gamma. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really important because it grabs any of your ritual monsters that are warriors that are level 4 or lower from your deck to your hand, or any of your level 4 or lower warrior monsters from your deck to your hand. This card's really helpful. You can play another copy of Shuret if you want to, because Shuret's the main one that I'm going to be grabbing. But the reason I play this is because it can also grab Colossalus. We then play 2 copies of Nekroz Mirror. Nekroz Mirror is really neat because it has the ability that you can ritual summon any Nekroz ritual monster, but tributing monsters from your hand or field, and or banishing Nekroz monsters from your graveyard. Then ritual summon a Nekroz ritual monster from your hand whose total level equals the exact amount of the cards that you banished or sent to the graveyard for this effect, or tributed, excuse me. And also has the ability that if you control no monsters, you can banish this card and 1 Nekroz monster from your graveyard to add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. We then play 2 copies of Nekroz Cycle. Cycle is really good too, because this card can be used to ritual summon any Nekroz ritual monster, and then you tribute monsters from your hand or field, and then special summon a Nekroz ritual monster from your hand or graveyard, whose total exactly equals the total amount of monsters that you tributed. You can only use the effect of this card once per turn, and if you control no monsters, you can manage this card to add a Nekroz monster from your graveyard. You can manage this card and a Nekroz monster from your graveyard to add a Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand, which is getting you another one of your ritual spells. We then play 2 copies of Kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope being probably the most powerful one. You send a monster from your extra deck to the graveyard, and then you get to ritual summon Nekroz monsters that equal the level of the monster that you sent. So for example, if I send a copy of, I don't know, Shooting Quasar Dragon from my extra deck to the graveyard, I could ritual summon out a copy of my Trishula and my Colossalus to my side of the field, because it's both of the monsters that exactly equal 3 and 9 equal 12, and this was a 12, so I get to special summon them both. So this card can actually be one of the most unique cards in the entire game of Yu-Gi-Oh! For ritual summoning monsters, and I absolutely love it for that reason, because basically it's going to give you multiple ritual summons off of a single card, which is really, really, really crazy, and I love this effect of this card. It also has the ability that you can banish this card from the graveyard graveyard and one other Nekroz monster to add one Nekroz spell from your deck to your hand. We then play a single copy of Incantation Inception, which is basically a free ritual summon for basically any of your monsters. It counts as like a generic ritual spell, so this card's pretty good because this card can be used to ritual summon any ritual monster, and you must also tribute incantation monsters from your hand or field whose total level equals or exceeds the level of the monster, so it's really easy to summon a lot of different cards. We then play 3 copies of Preparation of Rites. Preparation of Rites lets us add a level 7 or lower ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Then you can add a ritual spell from your graveyard to your hand, but it's not mandatory to add the ritual spell, so you can activate this card just to give you a search if you need it. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Trishula, Zero Dragon of the Iceberry. This is just here as a level 11 target for Kaleidoscope. You're playing a regular Trishula because it's a level 9 target for your Kaleidoscope. 1 copy of Shooting Quasar because it's a level 12 target for your Kaleidoscope. Shooting Quasar is, or not Quasar, but Star Dragon. Star Dragon is a level 10 target for your Kaleidoscope. Driver because it's a level 8 target for your Kaleidoscope, and it's also a card that you can send to the graveyard off your copy of Zaborg, or synchro summon in this card directly with your copy of your Gamma and Driver, which is the main reason I actually play this. Wind Pegasus because it's a level 7 target for your Kaleidoscope, and it also has the ability that you can manage this card from your graveyard and target 1 card your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck, which is a really interesting card because you can actually send this to the graveyard if your opponent has a pesky card that can't be destroyed by battle or by card effects, but it can be targeted like Beals, and send this card to the graveyard off your copy of Zaborg and then bounce the card, which is pretty good. We play 3 copies of Herald of the Arclight, which is a target for Kaleidoscope actually, and for summoning out Unicorn, and if it's sent to the graveyard, you get to add 1 ritual monster or ritual spell from your deck to your hand, which is why you kind of see Zaborg being so good in this deck, because you can summon this to you can send 3 of these, and then you can send 3 copies of Totally Awesome from your deck to the or extra deck to the graveyard. And your 3 Totally Awesomes, with the last line of text is if this card is sent to the graveyard, you get to target another water monster in your grave and add it back to your hand. So basically, this card gets you 3 of your water monsters back, 3 searches in the deck, and then you play your 2 copies of your 1 copy of Skull Knight and your 1 copy of Nist, and this gets you a pop and this gets you a pop, but this card can go off when you want it to, and it's a level 6 target for Kaleidoscope. And then we play a single copy of Nephthys the Sacred Flame, which is an insane boss monster for this deck, and it was the old school boss monster that I actually would go for the majority of the time in this deck to be able to OTK my opponent, because if you use ritual monsters to link summon this card, it can't be destroyed by battle, it can't be destroyed by card effects, and it gains 1200, and neither player can target this card with card effects, and it gains an additional 1200 going to 4800 if you use 3 ritual monsters to link summon to this card, which is not that hard actually to go into. It's a really good card in this deck, and I highly recommend that you guys play it. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really cool deck to play, and I highly recommend that if you guys have not played this deck before, you definitely should give it a try because it's a lot of fun, and I absolutely love this deck, and I'm really excited for, again, at the time of release, Ghost of the Past has not come out at the time of recording, but I'm really excited for this card to come out, and it's going to be absolutely insane when it finally does, because when it does, this deck is just going to take off, and I wouldn't even be surprised if it got a surprise top somewhere because people aren't going to expect it. And once you summon out a Unicorn and a copy of this and Colossalus to your side of the field, there's not a lot your opponent can do, and especially when you get all those pluses off Zaborg, it's really hard for your opponent to come back. So that's it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come our notification squad. If you want to check out how to make proxies just like this, I do have a channel. I do have a video on the channel actually of how to do that, just for play testing and casual play, not for tournament play, but you can play test with them until cards like this release, but it's definitely a good option for you guys. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and check out the Patreon down the description below, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.